What would you do if your husband handed you divorce papers in front of your entire family, right after you made him the laughingstock at our favorite club? I thought making him jealous would fix things, but I never imagined the real consequences until the day I saw the envelope with his lawyer's name on it. Did I really deserve this, or did he finally get tired of my games? I stared at Ethan across our kitchen table, watching him mechanically eat his cereal while scrolling through work emails on his phone. 7 years of marriage, and this is what we'd become. Two strangers sharing a mortgage and a 7-year-old daughter named Lila. You know what today is, right? I asked, setting my coffee mug down harder than necessary. Ethan looked up, his brown eyes distant. Thursday. It's 3 weeks until my birthday, Ethan. My 34th birthday. I crossed my arms. Remember, we talked about having a party at the Lantern, like we used to. He sighed and put his phone down. Hypatia, you know I've been swamped with the Henderson project. Maybe we could do something quiet this year. Quiet? I laughed bitterly. Everything's quiet with you these days. When's the last time we went dancing? When's the last time you looked at me like you actually wanted me? That's not fair. His voice was measured, controlled. Always so controlled. I work 60 hours a week to keep this house, to pay for Lila's school. To avoid your wife, I interrupted. Admit it, Ethan. You'd rather be anywhere than here with me. He stood up, rinsing his bowl in the sink with deliberate movements. I'm not doing this again, Hypatia. I have a meeting at 9. As he walked toward the door, I felt that familiar surge of frustration. When had he become so cold, so indifferent to me? I remembered when he used to notice my new dresses, when he'd pull me close on the dance floor at the Lantern, when other women would look at us with envy. Now I felt invisible. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Tori. Coffee later. Need to hear about the Ethan situation. I smiled slightly. At least someone cared about my feelings. That afternoon, I met Tori at our usual spot, a trendy coffee shop downtown where she could show off her latest designer purse and I could vent about my marriage. He's completely checked out, I told her, stirring my latte aggressively. I could walk around naked, and he'd probably just ask me to turn off the lights so he could work on his laptop. Tori shook her head, her perfectly highlighted hair catching the sunlight. Honey, you're 34 years old and gorgeous. You shouldn't have to beg for attention from your own husband. Exactly. I felt validated hearing her say it. I mean, what's the point of staying in shape, of buying nice clothes if he doesn't even notice? Maybe he needs a wake-up call, Tori suggested, raising an eyebrow. Remind him what he's got before someone else notices. I knew exactly what she meant. I ran into Callum last week at the grocery store. Your ex, Callum? Tori leaned forward, interested. The one who used to take you salsa dancing. The same one. He looked really good. Asked about Ethan, said he missed our group from the old days. I paused, remembering how Callum's eyes had lingered on me, how he'd complimented my hair. He still goes to the Lantern every Friday. Interesting, Tori mused. You know, if you're planning this birthday party anyway. The idea was forming in my mind, dangerous and thrilling. Ethan needs to remember what he married. Maybe seeing other men appreciate me will wake him up. Just don't let it go too far, Tori warned, but I could see the mischief in her eyes. A little harmless flirting never hurt anyone. That evening, I brought up the party again. Ethan was in his home office, surrounded by blueprints and project timelines. I've been thinking about my birthday, I said, leaning against the doorframe in my best dress. I really want to celebrate at the Lantern. It's been so long since we had fun together. He looked up, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of the old Ethan, the one who used to love showing me off on the dance floor. Okay, he said finally. If it's important to you, let's do it. Really? I felt a surge of excitement. I'll invite everyone. Tori, your mum, some people from work. Sure, whatever you want. He was already looking back at his papers. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through my contacts. When I reached Callum's name, I hesitated for just a moment before typing. Hey, stranger, having a birthday party at the Lantern next Friday. Would love to see you there, like old times. The response came back within minutes. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Can't wait to catch up properly. I felt a thrill run through me. Ethan was going to remember exactly what he'd been taking for granted. From the kitchen, I heard Ethan's mother, Evelyn, arriving to pick up Lila for their weekly grandmother-granddaughter dinner. Evelyn had always been polite to me, but I could sense her disapproval lately. She probably thought I wasn't grateful enough for her precious son. "Hypatia, dear," Evelyn called out. "Could I speak with you for a moment?" I found her in the living room, her silver hair perfectly styled as always, her expression concerned. "I hope you don't mind me saying, but Ethan seems stressed lately, more than usual." "He's always stressed about work," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "It's more than work." Her blue eyes, so much like Ethan's, studied me carefully. "He mentioned you've been unhappy." "We're fine," I said quickly. "Actually, we're planning a party for my birthday. Things are looking up." Evelyn nodded slowly, but I could tell she wasn't convinced. "Marriage takes work from both people, dear. Sometimes we have to look at our own actions." "Mommy," Lila came running in, her school backpack bouncing. "Grandma, are we getting ice cream?" "Of course, sweetheart." Evelyn's face softened as she hugged Lila. "Say goodbye to your parents." As they left, I caught Ethan watching me from his office doorway. There was something in his expression I couldn't quite read. Sadness? Disappointment? "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said quietly. "Just thinking about things." That night, as Ethan worked late in his office again, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Pictures of us at the Lantern, laughing and dancing. Pictures of me with Callum from years ago, before I met Ethan. I looked happy in those photos, radiant, desired, alive. When was the last time Ethan had made me feel that way? I opened my messages with Callum again. "Looking forward to Friday. It'll be just like the old days." His reply came quickly. "Even better. You always were the most beautiful woman on that dance floor." I smiled, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Anticipation. Ethan was about to get a very important reminder about what he'd been neglecting. Friday night arrived with unusual energy in our house. I'd spent hours getting ready, my hair professionally styled, makeup perfect, wearing the red dress that used to make Ethan's eyes light up. Now he barely glanced at me as he adjusted his tie in the bedroom mirror. "You look nice," he said absently, the kind of compliment you'd give a coworker. "Just nice?" I turned to face him, letting him see the full effect of the dress, the way it hugged my curves. I spent all afternoon getting ready for my birthday party. He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw something flicker in his expression. "You look beautiful, Hypatia. You always do." For a moment, I felt guilty about what I was planning. But then he checked his phone and the moment passed. The Lantern was exactly as I remembered. Dim lighting, pulsing music, and a dance floor that held so many memories. Our friends and family were already there when we arrived, clustered around the high-top tables I'd reserved. "Birthday girl," Tori squealed, rushing over in her sparkly dress. "You look absolutely stunning." My co-workers from the insurance office were there too. Linda, Sarah, and Janet from accounting. They'd already started on the cocktails and were gossiping about office drama. "Where's the birthday cake?" asked my mother, Janet Ashby, looking slightly uncomfortable in the club atmosphere. She'd always been more of a dinner party person. "Later, Mom. Let's dance first." I scanned the crowd, looking for Callum. Ethan's mother Evelyn sat at a corner table, nursing a glass of wine and checking her watch. She clearly didn't want to be here, but she'd come for Ethan's sake. "This music is awfully loud," she commented to my father Howard, who just nodded and looked like he'd rather be watching baseball at home. Then I saw him. Callum walked through the entrance like he owned the place, his dark hair perfectly tousled, wearing a black shirt that showed off his gym-toned physique. Several women turned to look as he made his way over to our group. Hypatia! He pulled me into a hug that lasted just a beat too long. Happy birthday, gorgeous. You haven't aged a day. I felt Ethan stiffen beside me. Good. Callum, you remember my husband Ethan, I said sweetly. Of course. Good to see you, man. Callum extended his hand, all charm and confidence. Thanks for letting me crash the party. Ethan shook his hand, his expression carefully neutral. No problem. And this is my sister Tori. I continued the introductions, watching as Callum's eyes lingered on me throughout. The evening started innocently enough. We had dinner, shared stories, and I opened a few presents. Ethan had gotten me a nice necklace, expensive but impersonal, the kind of thing you buy when you can't think of anything meaningful. It's beautiful, I said, letting him put it on me. His fingers brushed my neck, and I remembered when that simple touch would have sent shivers through me. I wasn't sure what you wanted, he admitted quietly. Callum, meanwhile, had brought me a vintage record, an album we used to dance to when we were dating. Thought you might like this for old time's sake, he said with that crooked smile I remembered so well. Oh my God, I love this song. I held up the album for everyone to see. Callum and I used to dance to this all the time. I saw Ethan's jaw tighten slightly. Perfect. When the DJ started playing our old song later, Callum was immediately at my side. Care to dance, birthday girl, for old time's sake? I glanced at Ethan, who was deep in conversation with his mother. He wasn't even paying attention. I'd love to, I said, taking Callum's offered hand. The dance floor was crowded, but Callum and I moved together like we'd never stopped. He was still an amazing dancer, confident and smooth, spinning me and pulling me close in all the right places. I could feel other people watching us, admiring how well we moved together. You still got it, Callum murmured in my ear as he dipped me low. Ethan is a lucky man. Sometimes I wonder if he remembers that, I replied, letting myself enjoy the attention, the way Callum's hands felt on my waist. When the song ended, I looked back at our table. Ethan was watching now, his expression unreadable. Evelyn looked disapproving, but Tori was grinning and giving me thumbs up. Another dance? Callum asked. Absolutely. We danced to 3 more songs, each one more intimate than the last. Callum pulled me closer, his hands lingering on my back, whispering compliments and memories in my ear. I felt alive again, desired, like the woman I used to be. Remember that night we won the salsa competition? He asked, spinning me expertly. You mean when we beat everyone and won that ridiculous trophy? I laughed, feeling giddy. You were incredible that night. You still are. When I finally returned to the table, breathless and glowing, Ethan was standing by the bar talking to my father. He didn't look at me when I sat down. That was amazing, Tori gushed. You two still have such chemistry. We always did dance well together, I agreed, loud enough for Ethan to hear when he returned. Perhaps it's time for some cake, Evelyn suggested stiffly. It is getting rather late. Oh, come on, Evelyn, Tori laughed. The night is young. Ethan, why don't you dance with your wife? All eyes turned to Ethan. He looked tired, older than his 36 years. I'm not really in a dancing mood tonight. See what I mean? I said to Tori, but loud enough for the table to hear. He never wants to have fun anymore. That's not true, Ethan said quietly. When's the last time you asked me to dance? When's the last time you looked at me the way other men do? I gestured toward the dance floor where Callum was now dancing with a blonde woman, but his eyes kept drifting back to me. Hypatia, my mother said sharply. This isn't the place. It's my birthday party, Mum. If I can't be honest on my birthday, when can I be? Ethan set down his drink. I think I need some air. He walked toward the exit and I felt a moment of panic. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to get jealous, to fight for me, to remember what he was losing. Let him go, Tori advised. He's just sulking because he knows he's been a terrible husband. I should probably go after him, I said, but I didn't move. Why? Tori challenged. So you can apologize for having a good time. For other people appreciating you when he doesn't. Callum appeared at my elbow. Everything okay? You look upset. Just husband drama, Tori answered for me. Nothing that can't be solved with another dance. I looked toward the door where Ethan had disappeared, then back at Callum's offered hand. The music was calling, the lights were perfect, and I felt more beautiful and desired than I had in months. One more dance, I decided. This time, Callum held me even closer. We moved together like lovers, his lips close to my ear, his hands possessive on my waist. I could see people watching us, some with interest, others with disapproval. He doesn't deserve you, Callum whispered. Any man who would leave you alone on the dance floor on your birthday doesn't know what he has. You always knew how to make me feel special, I whispered back. When the song ended, I looked around for Ethan, but he was nowhere to be seen. Evelyn was gathering her purse, her lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. I think I'll call it a night, she announced. Thank you for including me in your celebration, Hypatia. Her tone was ice cold. As she left, I heard her say something to my mother, who looked embarrassed and upset. Where did Ethan go? I asked my father. He left, Howard said simply. Said he had a headache. He left? I felt a surge of anger. He left me here on my birthday. Can you blame him? This came from Linda, one of my co-workers, who'd been drinking steadily all evening. I mean, if my husband was dancing with his ex like that. Like what? I challenged. Like he was having fun, like he appreciated me. Like he was about to take you home, Linda said bluntly. Everyone could see it, Hypatia. It was embarrassing. For who? For Ethan? Good. Maybe now he'll remember he has a wife. The party broke up shortly after that, with people making awkward excuses and early exits. Only Tori and Callum stayed until closing time, both of them telling me I'd done nothing wrong, that Ethan was being ridiculous and jealous. You deserve better than this, Callum said as we waited for our rides outside the club. A woman like you should never have to beg for attention. He kissed my cheek goodbye, his lips lingering just a moment too long, and I felt that familiar thrill of being wanted. But as I sat in the Uber heading home, I started to feel uneasy. The way Evelyn had looked at me, the comments from my co-workers, the fact that Ethan had left his own wife's birthday party. Maybe I'd pushed things too far. But then again, maybe that's exactly what he needed, a wake-up call about what he could lose. I woke up Saturday morning with a slight headache and the immediate realization that Ethan wasn't in bed next to me. I found him in the kitchen, fully dressed, making coffee with mechanical precision. You left me, I said, my voice still hoarse from the night before. You left your wife at her own birthday party. He didn't look at me. I had a headache. Bullshit. You left because you were jealous. No, Hypatia, I left because I was embarrassed. He turned to face me then, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Disappointment so deep it looked like grief. My wife spent the entire evening dancing with her ex-boyfriend like I didn't exist. So now you're paying attention, I shot back. Funny how that works. This isn't about attention. This is about respect. Respect, I laughed. When's the last time you respected me enough to dance with me, to look at me, to act like you actually wanted to be married to me? Ethan poured his coffee and headed for the door. I'm going to my mother's. Lila's there, and I promised to take her to the park. We need to talk about this, Ethan. No, he said quietly. We really don't. After he left, I called Tori immediately. How are you feeling, birthday girl? She asked cheerfully. Last night was epic. Ethan is being a complete baby about it. He's acting like I committed some crime by dancing with an old friend. Please, you looked amazing, and Callum clearly still has it bad for you. Ethan should be flattered that other men find his wife irresistible. Exactly. Instead, he's sulking like a teenager. Men, Tori sighed dramatically. They want us to be invisible until they decide they want us. Screw that. I felt better after talking to Tori. She was right. I hadn't done anything wrong. I'd danced with an old friend at my own birthday party. If Ethan couldn't handle seeing his wife appreciated by other men, that was his problem. Monday morning at work, I was still riding that wave of righteousness. My coworkers gathered around my desk to hear about the weekend, and I found myself embellishing the story slightly. You should have seen Ethan's face when Callum and I were dancing, I told Sarah and Janet from accounting. He turned green with jealousy. Good for you, Sarah laughed. My husband could use a wake-up call like that too. I mean, Callum is still gorgeous, I continued, enjoying the attention. He kept telling me how beautiful I looked, how Ethan was lucky to have me. It felt so good to be appreciated for once. Did anything happen? Janet asked with obvious interest. I mean, you two looked pretty cozy out there. We're just friends, I said, but I couldn't help smiling. Though he did say I deserved better than a husband who ignores me. By lunch, the story had grown even more dramatic in the telling. I found myself describing Ethan's jealous rage and how he'd stormed out when he couldn't handle seeing me with another man. He actually left you there? Linda asked, her eyes wide. Just abandoned me at my own birthday party, I confirmed. Can you believe that? What kind of husband does that? A threatened one, Sarah said with satisfaction. Sounds like your plan worked perfectly. I posted a few photos from the party on social media that afternoon, carefully selected shots of me looking gorgeous, dancing with Callum, surrounded by friends. I made sure to include a caption about having the best birthday ever and thanking special friends who know how to make a girl feel appreciated. The likes and comments poured in immediately. Old friends, co-workers, even some people I barely knew were commenting on how amazing I looked, how lucky Ethan was, how they wished their husbands would take them dancing. Callum liked every single photo and commented, "Beautiful as always. Some guys don't know how good they have it." I felt a thrill of satisfaction. Let Ethan see this. Let him see how other people valued me. But then Tori called with disturbing news. I just got off the phone with Mom, she said. Apparently Evelyn called her yesterday. Really upset about Friday night. What did she say? That you were making a spectacle of yourself and embarrassing Ethan. Mom's all worried now, thinking you're having some kind of midlife crisis. I'm 34, not 44. And I wasn't making a spectacle. I was having fun at my own party. I know, but Evelyn's got Mom all worked up. She wants to have lunch with you this week to talk things through. Great. Now I had to deal with family drama on top of Ethan's sulking. Tuesday evening, Ethan came home late from work, later than usual. He'd been avoiding me since Saturday, speaking only when necessary, sleeping in the guest room. We can't keep doing this, I said when I found him in his office. Lila's starting to notice the tension. You're right, he agreed, but he still wouldn't look at me directly. We should probably figure out what we're doing here. What do you mean? I mean this marriage, Hypatia. What are we doing? Because right now it feels like we're just two people sharing a house and a child. I felt a flicker of panic. This wasn't how the plan was supposed to work. Ethan, if this is about Friday night, it's not just Friday night, it's everything. The way you talk to me, the way you talk about me to other people. He finally looked at me directly. Linda from your office called me yesterday. Did you know that? My stomach dropped. What did she want? She wanted to apologize for what she said Friday night, but in doing so, she told me some very interesting things about how you describe our marriage to your co-workers. I felt heat creep up my neck. Ethan, apparently I'm a neglectful husband who doesn't appreciate his beautiful wife. Apparently, you've been telling everyone how unhappy you are, how you deserve better. His voice was eerily calm. Is that how you really feel, Hypatia? I was just venting. Everyone complains about their spouse sometimes. Do they? Because I've never told anyone at my office that you're a bad wife. I've never publicly humiliated you or made you the subject of office gossip. I wasn't trying to humiliate you. Then what were you trying to do Friday night? Because from where I sat, it looked like you were trying to make me look like a fool in front of our friends and family. I wanted to explain about the jealousy plan, about wanting him to notice me again, but the words wouldn't come. Because looking at his face now, the hurt and disappointment, I was starting to realize how badly I'd miscalculated. I just wanted you to pay attention to me, I said quietly. By flirting with your ex-boyfriend? By dancing with him like you wished you'd married him instead of me? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that, Hypatia. And everyone saw it. Everyone knows now that my wife would rather be with someone else. He stood up and walked past me toward the door. Where are you going? To pick up Lila from my mother's. We'll be back later. After he left, I sat in his office chair, staring at his computer screen. He'd been working on some kind of financial spreadsheet, our joint accounts, mortgage payments, Lila's school expenses. Why was he looking at our finances? I tried calling Tori, but she was at dinner with her boyfriend. I scrolled through the comments on my birthday photos again, but they didn't make me feel as good as they had before. Instead, I found myself wondering what Ethan's friends and co-workers were saying about the pictures, what his mother was telling people. When Ethan and Lila returned, our daughter ran straight to me for her usual bedtime hug. "Mommy, why is Daddy sleeping in the guest room?" she asked innocently. I glanced at Ethan, who was standing in the doorway. Sometimes grown-ups need space to think, sweetheart. It doesn't mean anything bad. But Grandma Evelyn seemed really sad today, and she kept asking me if you and Daddy were fighting. "What did you tell her?" Ethan asked gently. "I told her you've been quiet lately, and that Mommy talks on the phone a lot and gets upset." Lila looked between us with 7-year-old wisdom. "Are you getting divorced like Emma's parents?" "No, baby," I said quickly. "We're just working through some things." But when I looked at Ethan, he didn't confirm my reassurance. He just looked sad and tired and older than his years. That night, I lay in our empty bed, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so quickly. I'd just wanted Ethan to notice me, to remember what he had, to fight for our marriage. Instead, I'd somehow made everything worse. The next few days passed in tense silence. Ethan left early for work and came home late, spending his evenings either with Lila or locked in his office. When we did speak, it was only about practical matters. Who would pick up Lila? What bills needed paying? Whether we needed groceries? I tried to pretend everything was normal, but the strain was showing. At work, my coworkers had stopped asking about my marriage drama, probably sensing that the story wasn't as entertaining as I'd made it seem. The likes on my birthday photos had dwindled, and I found myself checking Callum's social media obsessively. He'd posted a photo of himself at the Lantern with some friends, with the caption, "Great night out with beautiful people." I wondered if he was thinking about me, about our dance, about what might have been. Thursday evening, I decided to confront the situation head-on. Ethan was in the kitchen making Lila's lunch for the next day, something I usually did, but he'd taken over most of the household tasks since our fight. "We need to talk," I announced. "I'm listening," he said without looking up from the sandwich he was making. "This silent treatment has to stop. Lila's getting upset, and we're both miserable." "You're right." He sealed the sandwich in a container and put it in the refrigerator. "We should talk." Finally. "Good. I think if we can just—" "I've been doing some thinking, Hypatia. About us, about what you said, about what you want." Something in his tone made me nervous. "Okay. You were right about some things. I have been working too much, probably not paying enough attention to you. Marriage is hard, and I know I'm not perfect." I felt a surge of hope. "Ethan, but I've also been thinking about Friday night, about the way you looked at Callum, the way you talked about me to your friends, the way you made me feel like an outsider at my own wife's birthday party." The hope started to fade. "And I keep coming back to the same question. Do you actually want to be married to me, Hypatia? Not the idea of being married, not the security or the house or the family we've built. Do you want to be married to me specifically?" The question hung in the air between us. I wanted to say yes immediately, but something in his expression stopped me. Of course I do, I said finally. Do you? Because the woman who was dancing with Callum on Friday night, that wasn't a woman who wanted to be with her husband. That was a woman who was imagining being with someone else. That's not true, isn't it? He leaned against the counter, studying my face. When's the last time you looked at me the way you looked at him that night? I opened my mouth to protest, but no words came. When's the last time you talked about me to your friends the way you talk about him? With admiration, with attraction, with love? Ethan, you're being ridiculous. Callum and I are just friends. Are you? He pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. It was my Instagram post from Friday night, the one where Callum had commented about guys not knowing how good they have it. Because this doesn't look like just friends to me. I stared at the photo, me and Callum dancing, his hands on my waist, both of us laughing and gazing into each other's eyes, like we were the only people in the room. It's just a dance, Ethan. No, it's not. It's the way you used to look at me when we were dating. It's the way a woman looks at a man she's attracted to, a man she desires, a man she's falling for. You're being paranoid. Am I? Because I've been watching you this week, Hypatia. The way you light up when your phone buzzes thinking it might be him. The way you keep checking his social media. The way you get this dreamy look when you think I'm not paying attention. I felt exposed, caught. Even if that were true, nothing's happened between us. Yet, the word hung between us like a challenge. What's that supposed to mean? It means I know you, Hypatia. I know how you operate. You're not happy with something, so you start looking elsewhere for validation. You did it with your job, with your friends, and now you're doing it with our marriage. That's not fair. Isn't it? You've been telling everyone who'll listen how unhappy you are with me, how you deserve better, how other men appreciate you more. You've been building a case for why you should leave me, and Friday night was just the opening statement. I felt like I was losing control of the conversation. Ethan, you're twisting everything. I'm seeing clearly for the first time in months. He put his phone away and looked at me directly. You want out of this marriage, Hypatia. You just want me to be the bad guy so you don't have to feel guilty about it. That's not true. Then prove it. What? Prove it. Delete Callum's number. Block him on social media. Stop talking about our private business to your co-workers. Start acting like a woman who wants to save her marriage instead of one who's looking for an excuse to end it. I stared at him, feeling trapped. You can't just give me ultimatums. I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I'm asking you to choose. Really choose. Do you want to be married to me, or do you want to keep one foot out the door while you explore your options? I don't have any options. Callum and I are just friends. Then it should be easy to cut contact with him. The silence stretched between us, because it wouldn't be easy. And we both knew it. The attention, the validation, the way Callum made me feel beautiful and desired. I didn't want to give that up. I need some air, I said finally. Hypatia. I said I need some air. I grabbed my purse and keys and headed for the door, my heart pounding. As I drove aimlessly through our neighborhood, I called Tori. He's being completely unreasonable, I told her, explaining the conversation. He wants me to cut off all contact with Callum just because he's jealous. That does seem extreme, Tori agreed. I mean, you're allowed to have friends. Exactly. And it's not like anything happened. We danced at a party. Big deal. Although, Tori's voice was hesitant. I have to ask, Hip, do you have feelings for Callum? The question caught me off guard. What do you mean? I mean, you've been talking about him non-stop since the party, and I saw the way you two were looking at each other. There was definitely chemistry there. We have history, that's all. Is it? Because if you're not happy with Ethan, maybe you should figure out what you actually want before you make any big decisions about cutting people off or saving your marriage. After I hung up, I found myself driving toward downtown, toward the Lantern. It was Thursday night, not usually busy, but I knew Callum sometimes went there after work. I told myself I was just going for a drink, just needed to clear my head. But when I walked in and saw him at the bar, my heart rate picked up. "Hypatia." He smiled broadly, standing to give me a hug. "What a nice surprise. What brings you out on a school night?" "Just needed to get out of the house," I said, sliding onto the bar stool next to him. "Marriage drama." "Ah." He signaled the bartender for another round. "Want to talk about it?" And I did. I told him everything, about Ethan's accusations, his ultimatum, the way he was making me feel guilty for having a good time at my own birthday party. "Sounds like he's threatened," Callum said, his hand resting casually on my arm. "Can't say I blame him. If you were my wife, I'd be worried about losing you too." The compliment sent a warm feeling through me. "He thinks I have feelings for you." "Do you?" Callum's eyes met mine directly, and I felt that familiar flutter of attraction. "I don't know," I admitted. "I know I feel more alive when I'm with you than I have in months." "That's not nothing, Hypatia." His thumb traced small circles on my wrist. "Life's too short to spend it feeling invisible." We talked for another hour, and with each drink, Ethan's ultimatum seemed more unreasonable. Why should I have to give up a friendship that made me happy? Why should I have to choose between my marriage and feeling appreciated? When Callum offered to drive me home, I almost said yes. The thought of going back to that tense, cold house, to Ethan's disappointed looks and silent treatment, made me want to run away entirely. But I had Lila to think about. "I should go," I said reluctantly. "I understand." Callum paid for our drinks and walked me to my car. "But Hypatia, you deserve to be happy. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for that." He kissed my cheek goodbye, and this time I didn't pull away quickly enough. For just a moment, I let myself imagine what it would feel like to be with someone who actually wanted me. When I got home, Ethan was waiting in the living room. "Where were you?" he asked quietly. "Out. Getting some air, like I said." "For 3 hours?" I could smell Callum's cologne on my clothes, could still feel the warmth of his hand on my arm. I needed time to think. Ethan studied my face, and I saw the exact moment he realized where I'd been. "You were with him, weren't you?" I could have lied, should have lied, but I was tired of feeling guilty for wanting to feel good about myself. "We're friends, Ethan. I'm allowed to have friends." He nodded slowly, like I'd just confirmed something he'd been suspecting. "Yeah," he said quietly. "You are." He stood up and headed for the stairs. "Where are you going?" "To bed. I have an early meeting tomorrow." "Ethan. Good night, Hypatia." As I watched him go, I had the strangest feeling that something important had just ended. But I pushed the thought away and went to pour myself another drink. After all, I deserved to be happy. Callum had said so. The weekend arrived with an unusual request from my mother. She wanted to meet for lunch on Saturday, just the two of us, at a neutral location. I knew immediately that Evelyn had gotten to her. "We need to talk, sweetheart," Mom said when I arrived at the coffee shop downtown. She looked tired, older than her 58 years, and I could see the worry lines around her eyes. "Let me guess, Ethan's mother called you." "Evelyn is concerned about you and Ethan. Frankly, so am I." Mom stirred her coffee nervously. "She told me about your birthday party, about the way you were behaving with that Callum person." "The way I was behaving? I was dancing at my own birthday party, Mum. Since when is that a crime?" "Since you're a married woman with a child, dancing with your ex-boyfriend like you're single." Her voice was sharp. "Hypatia, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking my husband has been ignoring me for months, and it felt good to have someone notice me for once." "So you decided to humiliate Ethan in front of everyone who knows you." The word humiliate stung. I didn't humiliate anyone. If Ethan felt embarrassed, maybe he should look at why his wife had to get attention from someone else. Mum sighed deeply. "Honey, I know marriage is hard. Your father and I have had our rough patches too. But you don't solve problems by creating bigger ones." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you're playing with fire. Evelyn says you've been in contact with this Callum since the party. Is that true?" I felt defensive, cornered. "We're friends. We've always been friends. Friends don't look at each other the way you two were looking at each other in those photos, Hypatia. I may be old, but I'm not blind. Nothing happened. Yet. Mom leaned forward, her expression serious. But it's going to, isn't it? You're going to keep pushing until something does happen, and then you'll blame Ethan for driving you to it. You don't understand what it's been like, Mom. Living with someone who barely sees you, who treats you like a roommate instead of a wife. So you talk to him about it. You go to counseling. You work on your marriage. You don't start an emotional affair with your ex-boyfriend. It's not an affair. What would you call it then? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're already halfway out the door. I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come, because deep down I knew she wasn't entirely wrong. I had been thinking about Callum more than I should. I had been comparing Ethan to him, finding Ethan lacking. I had been imagining what my life might be like with someone who appreciated me. Ethan is a good man, Hypatia. He works hard. He loves you and Lila. He's never given you any reason to doubt his faithfulness or his commitment to your family. He's also cold and distant and acts like I'm invisible half the time. Have you told him that? Really told him, without attacking or blaming or threatening? I thought about our recent conversations, about the way I'd been approaching our problems. It's not that simple. It is that simple. Marriage is about communication and compromise, not about punishing each other or looking for validation outside the relationship. You make it sound so easy. It's not easy, it's work, hard work, but it's worth it if you actually want to be married. That phrase again, if I actually wanted to be married. Why did everyone keep questioning that? Of course I want to be married. You're behaving like you've already checked out, just looking for an excuse to leave. Tears pricked my eyes. I don't want to leave. I just want to feel loved. Then stop looking in all the wrong places. After lunch, I found Ethan pushing Lila on the swing set he'd built. Watching them, I remembered when he looked at me with that same complete adoration. When had we stopped being a team? That evening, I found financial documents spread across his desk, child support calculations, property division, a family law attorney's contact. We should consider trial separation, Ethan said quietly. The words hit like a physical blow. You want to separate? We want different things. We've been having the same fight for months. Nothing changes. We could try counseling. Would you actually do the work, or just list my failings? I wasn't sure of the answer. You had drinks with him again last night, Ethan said. Linda saw you at the Lantern. It was just drinks. I'm done competing with a fantasy. I'm done being the villain in your story. He gathered his papers. I'm staying at my mother's tonight. Tomorrow we'll tell Lila Daddy's living somewhere else for a while. This is what you wanted, he said at the door. You've been pushing for this since you started comparing me to him. After he left, I stared at the documents. How had everything gone so wrong? I'd wanted him to notice me, fight for me. Instead, I'd pushed him away entirely. I scrolled to Callum's number, but heard my mother's words. You don't solve problems by creating bigger ones. Maybe it was time to stop running toward the wrong solution and face the real problem. Sunday morning, Ethan packed to move to his mother's. Leela asked why through tears. After he left, the house felt empty. She kept asking when Daddy was coming home. Monday at work, gossip spread. Callum texted about Ethan leaving. I stared at the message, realizing Ethan was right. I'd been having an emotional affair, using Callum to escape instead of facing our problems. I deleted it without responding. Tuesday, Ethan's lawyer called about serving divorce papers, not separation, divorce. You're filing for divorce? I called him, panicked. I can't keep living in limbo, hoping you'll choose me over your fantasy. There is no fantasy. You've been keeping your options open. Every rough patch, you look elsewhere for validation instead of working on the problem. He wasn't entirely wrong. Wednesday, the process server arrived. The papers were clinical. Irreconcilable differences. Custody arrangements. My mother said bluntly, "You complained about your marriage instead of working on it. You flirted with your ex instead of your husband." That evening, I confronted Ethan with the papers. "I've been an idiot. I was so focused on what you weren't giving me, I forgot what you were. I love you, the real you." "It's too late." I blocked Callum. "I'm willing to do real work, counseling, whatever it takes." He studied me. "One condition, counseling twice a week, complete honesty, no more games." "Yes, absolutely." He called his lawyer to put proceedings on hold. I felt real hope, the kind from actually being willing to work. 6 months later, Ethan moved back home. We still have hard days, but also good ones, days we choose each other instead of looking elsewhere. I learned, the grass isn't greener on the other side, it's greener where you water it.